can I still able to know either it's a pass or fail? Let's assume your moderator is there for your final system testing, right? So you use this template and you did not fill it up yet. So we are doing it together. So there is only expected system response, and I don't have the information to fill up the actual system response. But can I fill up the pass or fail here? Can I? Can I know either it will be pass or fail when I don't have the actual system response? Do you get my question? What I'm asking? Fail. It means automatically it fail because there is no actual system response, so automatically it's fail, is it? But I have expected system response. I expect to see this. Am I right? And when I follow this action, can I know on the system if this expected system response is showing or not? From the system response, the time I do the execution, can I know the response given by the system is same with the expected system response or not? Can I know by seeing the screen? For example, this first response, right? So the system should display a message asking the user to enter a new PIN. Okay, this is what we expect. So when I click on this change PIN button, the screen will show me this expected system response or not. Can I see from the screen? Can I see? Yes, I can see. I can see from the system. I able to see that it will display this message. Am I right? So if I don't have a column to fill up the actual system response, but I'm seeing it on the system, can I indicate either it's a pass or fail here based on what I see on the graphical user interface there? Can I still fill up the pass or fail there? I follow this action. I know this is what we expect to see. And currently, this is what is showing on the screen. So, by seeing this, can I fill up the pass or fail? Can. It's either we see exactly what is mentioned at the expected system response is what the interface is showing. It means it's pass. If it say that it must display a message asking for the enter the new pin, but I don't see on the UI, then I can say it's a fail. So even though I don't have one column called the actual system response, which I need to fill it up, I can still show that it's a pass or fail here. So let's assume I expect this, but I see something else. So I can put fail there. So in the comment column here, I can mention what exactly I saw. So when it's something else than what we see in the expected response, it means we put the fail under the comment, we will indicate what is the other thing we saw on the interface. So if I put pass here, do I need to fill up the comment part? If I fill pass, it means what I expect to see, that is what I see on the screen, and the status is pass. In that case, do I need to fill up the comment column there on the test case? No, no need. Because by seeing the word pass, we can already know that this is what we expect, and this is exactly the same thing what I see on the screen, so it's pass. Only if I have seen something else and the status is a fail, then I need to fill up the comment what actually I see. Got it? Can understand how to fill up the test case? Can I? Can I understand the test case? So this is just an example. Nothing much there. Sorry. No worries. Not about test case preparation or I don't ask all those things. Okay, so like what I've mentioned, so as how we will say that we need to do the review on the requirement, okay, and like we do the review on the SRS, our software requirement specification. The same thing goes before we will do the developing of the test case, we need to review, and the same thing goes after we develop the test case, we also need to do the review on the test case. So that's why you see why the design date and the execute date will be totally different date. So when you design the test case, okay, there will be team members to go through the review on your test case. So it means we need to design the test case very early so that the review can be done, then only the execution can be done. So there is no possibilities for the design date and the execution date to be the same. Cannot, even for documentation purpose, you cannot lie. It must be logical lie. So your design date will be earlier so that we can review on the test case and then we will execute the test case. So design date will be earlier, depends with how early it can be. Okay, so this is just a scenario for the creation of the test case. Okay, so where we normally talk about this, which is the positive test case and the negative test case. Okay, so when we said we want to cover the test case, we need to make sure that we produce these two. Okay, so positive means don't say pass fail. Okay, so positive means you are actually testing according to the features how it is being designed. So it means you don't try to break the features. So you follow exactly correctly. There is no how to say breaking of any features. So if this is how we do, this is the example. So if we want to do the positive, it means the success of the function. So for example, your first test case is about login test case. So to log into your app. So when we said I produce one positive test case, it means the success of the login. So it means I provide the correct username, correct password. So it is successfully do the login. So there is no breaking of the data, breaking of the environment, or breaking of the features. Nothing happened. Okay. So that is what we call as the positive test case. So normally we can have only one positive test case. So when you do the testing without any breaking and you test it in a normal environment or normal flow, it means it will be only one positive test case. That's why I always say to you that we can have many negative test cases, because when we set negative test case, it means we are not following how the function has been designed. But what we are trying to do is when we give something invalid, for example, when I give incorrect username, or I give incorrect password, or I give both incorrect. So what will happen? So that is what we call as the negative, which is the unsuccess of the login function or any function and the error handling of the function. So when I said I give incorrect username or I give incorrect password, what I expect to see. I expect to see the error message pop up. So that's why for your scope, test scope, we cover the functionality testing. It means to test the functionality, if the functionality is correctly working or not. So as part of this functionality, you will have the UI functionality because we use the buttons, clicking, all these things. Then the third scope is the error handling. It means when we do the negative, it means this is not how the function has been designed. So when I try to give something invalid or something not within the range or something which is not following the correct format, correct sizing, so it means I try to break the features by not following how the design actually being developed. So compared to positive test case, negative test case, we will have more numbers. So that's why we use the test design technique, the black box test design technique, for us to know the minimum number of test cases we can produce. Because positive means we have only one, but negative means we can have many. But since we always want to avoid exhaustive testing, right? We cannot do every possibilities of invalid data. So we need to use the technique to know the correct number of test cases. Okay, so this is just an example of the invalid. So for example, invalid dates, okay, where inside the numeric field we entering something else, or sometimes the invalid is outside of the boundaries. So it means something which is not allowed more than maximum or less than the minimum. So those kind of thing can be also part of the invalid. Okay, so when we do the review of the test case, other than we review based on the positive test case or negative test case, okay, we also review based on other things, other areas which we need to produce the testing as test case. For example, when we want to do the performance testing, so we might need a large amount of data for us to ensure how is the performance of the system. And then for security testing also, you might need to come up with the test case, but not just testing the functionality, but also how you are breaking the security measurement and to see what happened. And the third one is the regression testing. So every time when there is changes happen in your source code, okay, so you need to make sure that you need to come up with the new test cases. So when we do the review, we also check on this part. It means is our test case is newly developed for a first time functions, or the function is actually being modified maybe after we identify debug, right? So there is changes happen on the source code, then we need to do the regression test. So based on the changes, your test case also need to modify. So sometimes when we do the regression, there is changes, and the changes actually required changes on the test case. So every time when we do modification on the test case, we also need to conduct the test case review based on that. Okay. So this will be what are the characteristics you need to make sure when you prepare your test case. It must be accurate, exactly based on what you want to test, based on your purpose of testing, and economically, normally based on not using any unnecessary steps or words in your test case. Especially you have the test action, right? Don't give something like unnecessary things to do. Directly based on the function, this is the steps. Okay, then traceable, where we able to trace back your test case with your requirement. Okay, based on what you will list down as a requirement, this will be the test case. So it must be able to trace back. Okay, then repeatable. So sometimes when we need to restart a new cycle, you have done with the first cycle of testing, then you need to do the second cycle of the testing. So you have to make sure that the test case able to be repeat. Then of course reuse, whenever we need to reuse the test case, it must be able to reusable. Okay, so this part is the test readiness review. So test readiness review is when your system is passed from one testing phase to another testing phase. Okay, so you all already know we have different level of testing, right? So start from the smallest one to the bigger one. Okay, so when we move from one phase to another phase, so we have to make sure that we need to conduct the test readiness review. Okay, for example, you started with your development of your FIP. Okay, so when you start with the coding, you have the smallest level. So you have the unit level. So when you do the coding, together while you are doing the coding, you will do the unit testing. Okay, it means you want to make sure that your code is working, this CRUD functionality they are working, so you test at the unit level. So when you have a multiple unit, you actually combine them, become a module, then you test them as a module. So it means you move from one testing phase, which is the unit level, to the next testing phase, which is the module level. So the same thing goes after you have completed all the module and become a complete system. From module, you will move to the system. So the same thing goes after the integration and so on. So when we say test readiness review, is actually conducting the review, okay, every time when we move the system or the software from one testing phase to the next testing phase. So here what actually we want to check is the result of the current testing phase. It means at the unit level, okay? So what is your test result you get from there, okay? And also how is the preparation of the next testing phase for you to start. So let's assume from module to system. So from the module, you want to move to the system. So at the module level, what is your test result? Is everything okay? Or everything is correct, complete? There is no mistake. Okay, then you want to move to the system, right? So how is the preparation at the system level for you to pass the software to do the system testing? So our scope here is the result of the current phase and also the preparation of the next phase. Okay, so we need to conduct the review to confirm this before we can move the software to the next testing phase. Okay, so as usual, we have this informal and also the formal review. So formal review means we have things much more formal. Okay, where informal we might have a formal meeting. The maximum can go is one. Okay, but there is no formal reporting. There is no formal things or okay. But when we say formal, so it means it will be more. It means there will be a team, there will be a reporting, multiple meetings, and so on. Okay. So this will be the two level of test readiness review. So one is at the application level and one is at the enterprise level. Okay. So application means at the development side. So not passing to the working environment or to the client side yet. Okay. So at the application, we actually have three different review. One is development test readiness review, project test readiness review and enterprise test readiness review. Okay, so the first one is an informal test readiness review. Okay, so informal here means because it's something very small size, small level, so we can conduct informal. So this development test readiness review will be conducted after we have completed the unit or the module testing before we move out to the integration testing. Okay, so after we completed the unit or the module testing, before we want to move to the integration testing, we conduct this development test readiness review. So it means the result from the unit module testing, is it okay? And the preparation at the integration level, is it okay? So we need to confirm by doing this review. Then the project test readiness review is actually becoming formal because it's becoming a system level ready. So we conduct after we completed the integration, software integration test before we move to the validation level. So this readiness review to confirm that the integration test is correctly done, everything is integrated, the software is working fine before we move to the functional validation. Okay, then the enterprise test readiness review, also formal review where we conduct after we completed the functional validation test and before we move it to the client side, to the enterprise side. So this review is to confirm that. Okay, so enterprise test readiness review is to complete on this, and upon completion of this functional validation test, and if the system can be moved to the enterprise level. So at the enterprise level, it means client side, of course, everything will be formal, no more informal. So acceptance test readiness review is actually when we have completed the enterprise integration test and the performance test. Please do not get confused. Software integration is within the software, the modules, the units. But when we said enterprise integration, it means the system with the enterprise environment or any other system at the client side. And also the performance test. After the integration, the performance need to be tested also. So this acceptance test readiness review is after we have completed this before we can move to the enterprise acceptance test. Okay, then this implementation test readiness review is after we have completed this enterprise acceptance test and before we will be starting the operational of the system. So every time when we move the software, we have to conduct the review to confirm the current test has been successfully done and the preparation is done before we can move the system to the next level. Okay, so that's why we need to conduct the review for us to have the review data and we can provide our management the status of our software. Okay, so that's it. Got it? So that is more to the test case execution, which is involved with the monitoring, okay, to make sure our test case execution will be on as how we have planned, and also the test control part, okay, by using any metrics, and then it's more to the test case part. And then this one is the test readiness, test review, and the last part is the test readiness. Okay, that's it. Okay. Any question? Before I will end the session. Okay. So if nothing, then I think we are done. It will be very easy. No worries about that. Very, very easy. Okay. So no worries much about it. Yeah, one eyes, at least one eyes, still open a bit. Okay. Okay. So if nothing, then go and take your dinner. Okay. Thank you, guys.